Do you ever feel stuck? Like you're an actor in a play and you've forgotten your lines, but everyone else seems to know the script? Maybe you keep ending up in the same kinds of relationships. You keep hitting the same invisible wall in your career. You keep having the same destructive argument over and over. You shake your fist at the sky and you call it fate. You call it bad luck. You say, "Why does this always happen to me?" It's an agonizing question. But what if the answer isn't out there? What if the force directing your life, the thing you're calling fate, is actually coming from inside you, from a part of you that you don't even know exists? Today, we are going deep. We're talking about one of the most profound, terrifying, and liberating concepts in all of psychology. We're talking about the man who mapped the human soul, Carl Jung, and his concept of the shadow. And we're going to explore his most chilling warning. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If you've ever felt like a victim of your own life, this video is your way out. Stick with me. So, what is this shadow? When you hear the word, you probably think of darkness, evil, the villain. And you're partially right, but you're also missing the most important part. Let's use an analogy. Imagine you're born as a perfect, whole sphere containing everything, all human potential. You have the capacity for kindness, but also for rage, for generosity, but also for selfishness, for creativity, and for destruction. But then, life begins. Your parents, your teachers, your society, they start to hand you rules. Good boys don't cry. Nice girls don't get angry. Be quiet. Be selfless. Don't be too much. With every rule, you take a piece of your whole self, the unacceptable piece, and you put it into a metaphorical bag that you sling over your shoulder. Your anger goes in the bag. Your selfish desires go in the bag. Your wild, creative impulses, your sexuality, your vulnerability, your ambition. This bag, this is the shadow. It's the repository for every part of yourself that you were taught to disown in order to be good, to be acceptable, to be loved. As Carl Jung himself said, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. The problem is, that bag doesn't just sit there quietly. It gets heavier. And the things inside, they don't die. They fester, and they are desperate to be seen. This brings us back to that terrifying quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. How? How does a bag full of disowned parts control your life? The primary mechanism is a word you've heard before, but maybe not like this. Projection. Projection is when you see the contents of your own shadow, but you see them in other people. Let's make this real. Imagine you were taught that anger is bad. You've spent your whole life repressing your own anger, pushing it deep into that bag. You pride yourself on being calm, on being easygoing. But you cannot stand angry people. That guy who cuts you off in traffic, he's not just annoying, he's a monster. Your boss, when they raise their voice, they are unforgivably unprofessional. You find yourself surrounded by people you perceive as angry and aggressive, and it makes you miserable. This isn't fate bringing you angry people. This is your own disowned, screaming anger, projected onto everyone around you. You've made the world your shadowscape. Your shadow forces you to confront it by making you see it everywhere. And because you react so strongly to it, you get into fights. You sabotage relationships. You make decisions based on avoiding this anger you see. And in doing so, your life takes a very specific, repeating path. A path you call fate. But it gets deeper. This doesn't just apply to bad things. Jungians call this the golden shadow. Maybe you were taught that being the center of attention was arrogant, that being brilliant was showing off. So, you put your own brilliance, your own creativity, your own charisma into the bag. What happens? You become obsessed with charismatic, brilliant people. You idolize them. You put them on a pedestal and think, wow, I could never be like that. You are projecting your own gold onto them. You are giving away your own power. You stay in a job you hate, feeling small and unseen, while you worship the geniuses you see online, never realizing you are staring at a mirror. That is how the shadow becomes fate. It dictates who you hate, who you love, what you run from, and what you'll never allow yourself to become. It creates the very bad luck you're trying to escape. So, what happens if you just keep ignoring it? If you just keep walking, dragging that heavy, heavy bag? Well, the bag will burst. The shadow doesn't want to be ignored. It's a part of you. It is you. And it will find a way to get your attention. It might burst out as a sudden, shocking outburst. You're the nice guy who, after one too many drinks, says something so venomously cruel that it destroys a 20-year friendship. That wasn't the alcohol. That was the shadow, starved of any healthy expression, bursting its seams. It might manifest as chronic self-sabotage. You finally get the perfect partner, the dream job, and you just wreck it for no reason. That reason is your shadow, which feels unworthy of that success or is terrified of the responsibility, and so it steers the ship right into the rocks. Or, as Jung's brilliant student Marie-Louise von Franz noted, it can manifest as depression, anxiety, or even physical illness. The shadow is, at its core, a massive amount of psychic energy, pure, unlived life. When that energy is suppressed, it doesn't vanish. It turns inward. It becomes a poison. Depression isn't just sadness. It's often the crushing weight of the life you refuse to live. On a massive scale, the unintegrated shadow is catastrophic. When an entire group, a whole nation, represses its shadow, it doesn't go away. It gets projected onto another group. This is the root of scapegoating, of us versus them thinking, and of the worst horrors in human history. It's what happens when millions of people refuse to look at their own bag and instead point at their neighbor and scream, "There, they are the monster." Okay, so we're all carrying this bag. It's controlling us. It's dangerous. What do? You might think the answer is to defeat the shadow, to get rid of it. That is the exact wrong approach. That's just more repression. The goal isn't to defeat the shadow. The goal is to integrate it, to turn around, open the bag, and calmly start to unpack. Jung called this shadow work. It is the most difficult and the most important work of your life. And it starts with two things: humility and honesty. Step 1. Hunt your projections. This is where you start. Pay ruthless attention to your emotional reactions. What makes you furious in other people? What makes you irrationally angry? Who do you judge? I can't believe she's so lazy. He's so arrogant. They're so stupid. Write it down. And on the flip side, who do you idolize? Who do you put on a pedestal? Write that down too. This list. This isn't a list about them, it's a map. It's a treasure map pointing directly to the contents of your own shadow. Step 2. Ask the 1% question. Look at your list. Take that trait that you hate, that arrogance. Now ask yourself, with brutal honesty, where, just 1%, am I also arrogant? Where am I also lazy? Where have I also been cruel? The answer will be nowhere, at first. Your ego will fight you. But sit with it. You'll find it. That time you dismissed someone's idea. That time you cut a corner. This isn't about shaming yourself. It's about owning yourself. All of yourself. It's about saying, I see. That's in me too. The moment you own it, it stops controlling you from the outside. You've brought it inside. Step 3. Find the golden core. Here's the beautiful part. The shadow isn't just bad, it's just energy. Your repressed anger? At its core, that is the energy of boundaries, of passion, of the will to say no. Your repressed laziness? At its core, that might be your body's desperate need for rest, for stillness, for not buying into toxic productivity. Your repressed arrogance? That might be your golden shadow of self-confidence and leadership that you were told to hide. Integration means finding a conscious and healthy way to express this energy. Instead of exploding at your partner, your shadow anger can be channeled into setting a firm boundary at work. Instead of idolizing a creator online, your golden shadow creativity can be channeled into starting that small project you've been dreaming about. The goal is not to become good. The goal is to become whole. Let's go back to the beginning. That feeling of being stuck. That feeling of fate. What Jung's work teaches us is that this feeling is a summons. It's a call to adventure from the deepest part of your own soul. The repeating patterns in your life aren't a curse. They are your shadow, knocking on the door, asking to be let in. This work is terrifying because it means admitting you are not just the hero of your story. You are also, in some small way, the villain. It means taking responsibility for the fate you've been blaming on the world. But in that admission is total freedom. When you own your darkness, it can no longer control you. When you reclaim your gold, you no longer have to worship it in others. You stop being a puppet and you pick up the strings. You realize that fate was just your own unlived life reflected back at you. So, the question I want to leave you with is this. Look at your life. The one pattern you hate, the one loop you're stuck in. What if it's not bad luck? What part of you, what hidden, powerful, terrifying, and beautiful part of you is begging to be seen?